I'm going to show you guys how to play one of the strongest gambits against the Caro-Kann defense. And this is not the Alien Gambit, this is the Von Hennig Gambit. Now, I will admit, back in the day, I used to call this the Von Henning Gambit, but I have now learned that it's the Von Hennig Gambit. So, of course, as we look at the position here, we can see that the position says that it's an inaccuracy, but the engine does not understand what gambits mean. So I'm going to show you some of the craziest lines that I've seen in the Von Henning Gambit. So if we start with e4, right? This is how we reach the Von Henning Gambit. Your opponent plays c6, then d4, d5. This is the Caro-Kann. Now you play knight c3. Usually in the Alien Gambit, you can play either or, but we're not playing the Alien Gambit. We're playing the Von Henning Gambit. So they take, and this is where the Gambit comes in. You do not take back, you play bishop c4. There are so many traps in this position where if your opponent does not know what they're doing, they can lose the game very, very quickly. I've seen so many lines in the Von Henning Gambit. There's so many poisonous lines. Genuinely, if your opponent has not seen this before, you'll win. I have a 75% win rate against the Caro-Kann with this Gambit. Maybe I'm exaggerating that a little bit, but it's really high. Against the Caro-Kann, I have definitely plus 60% win rate against the Caro-Kann with the Von Henning Gambit. So they have a couple things they can do here. One of the moves that they can make in this position is knight to f6. Knight to f6 is actually the best move according to the engine. And now you re-gambit this pawn with f3. Again, don't listen to the engine. The engine doesn't know what it's talking about. This is definitely the move. Now, of course, your opponent has a couple things that they can do here, but one of these moves that they can do is they can take the pawn. When they take the pawn, you take back with the knight. You are now, this is prime Von Henning Gambit theory. All of the traps that can happen in this position, they're all prevalent. I'm going to show you all of them right now. So you can see that your bishop is looking at the square. You can see that your knight is nice and active. You can see that when you castle, you have the open F file. So even if they don't fall into your traps, you still have an incredibly strong position. The engine, of course, says it's 0.5 to black with perfect play, but I would assume that your opponents don't use engines when they're playing chess. So you should definitely destroy them because you have so much more activity than your opponent does. Like, look at that. They have one knight, you have three. You're going to castle, and you're going to have the rook open. Like, this position is prime for disaster for your opponent. So, one common move that they can make here is bishop g4. I've seen this move so many times. I've seen this move at the 1800 level. People at the 1800 level still make this blunder. And I actually had a very common move that happened to me in an over-the-board match tournament. I had a tournament where I was playing against someone who played the Caro-Kann. And they played bishop g4. They blundered. Now, there are two separate moves that you can make here. They're both brilliant. And they both involve sacrificing a piece. So the first one, this is the most common one. This is the one that I do the most because it's the most forcing, is I just take this bishop. I take the pawn on f7 with my bishop. It's seen as a brilliant because if they take, well, they don't really have a choice. I'm attacking the king again. King has to go here. And then I take. They usually take because I take, they take. And now look at this. I'm up a pawn. Well, I got my pawn back. The king can't castle. And I'm going to castle and start an egregious attack on the king. Now, one thing that my opponents usually do is in this position, instead of going here, they're tilted. So they try to run their king away. And I pre-move this. They take. I take. They go here. And guess what? You see how the evaluation just shot up? This is mate in 1. Mate in 1 on the board. Because my opponent just was tilted, didn't understand the position, and they got cooked. So that is one of the lines that you can do, and you'll be completely winning in the opening, and you can definitely go on to win the game as long as you know what you're doing, as long as you keep the queens on the board and just attack and castle with the open F file, you'll be doing very fine. But another move that you could do here, instead of sacrificing your bishop, is you can sacrifice your queen. You can sacrifice the queen. The queen can just be taken. You can take the queen here. So let's see what happens if they take the queen. They take the queen. Boom shakalaka is mate in 1. You get mated in 1 on the board, right? So let's say they don't take the queen. Let's say they, I don't know, let's say they go here. But guess what? They go here to try to protect this pawn because they see the mate in 1. But you remember how you blundered your queen? Guess what you can do? You can sacrifice your queen. Another brilliant. you can start farming brilliance on your opponent with the Von Hennig Gambit. Sorry, Von Hennig Gambit. So they take, boom, another mate. Again, this position is so strong. Now, usually the best move in this position is definitely just to go here, except that you need to stop the mate, attack the bishop. But you can most definitely just take this bishop. They have to take back because obviously they don't want to be down in piece and get mated. So now your opponent has double isolated e-pawns with their king still in the center, and your knight is just a demon. You will win this 10 out of 10 times if you get in these positions. Now, of course, this chess still needs to be played because you can obviously sell, in this position. But, castling, open F-file, active queen, open E and F-file. This is a very strong position. You will win this 10 out of 10 times if you know what you're doing. But I don't recommend going into this because it's too iffy. There's too many things that could happen. So I recommend just doing the sacrifice. If you do the sacrifice, this is 10 times better because it's much more forcing and your opponent can't really do anything about it. Yeah, this is definitely what I recommend in the Von Hennig Gambit. I really strongly recommend you just take on F7 and you'll be completely fine. Now, of course, they don't have to fall into your trap, right? They don't have to blunder. What they can do is they can do this. And I also love seeing this one as well because this is, again, another trap in the Von Hennig Gambit. And the thing I love about this Gambit so much is that even if they take the Gambit, it's literally one of those Gambits that you cannot take because you'll lose. It's like the Vienna Gambit. You cannot take the Vienna Gambit because you lose. It's not really a Gambit. It's just you can't take or you lose. So they go here and you castle. Now look at this. Look at this. Look at the difference in development. They have a knight and a bishop out, and you have both your knights out, a bishop out on a very strong diagonal. You have your rook active, your king is safe, and your queen can join the party at any time she wants. Whenever time she wants. So now, a common move here is this. This is a very common move. Now, you can do so many things in this position and you'll still be winning, but one of the very, very strong moves that you can make. Knight G5. Now, to your opponent, they may think, this use usually only works at low level, but to your opponent, they may think, oh, he's just jumping his knight into nowhere. The knight has nowhere to go. What's the knight going to do here? So, they kick the knight. See how the evaluation just shot up? This is a blunder. You know why? Because you have knight takes F7. Brilliant move. Now, your opponent may think, what? That's just a free knight. You can just take the knight, right? They take the knight. And then look at this. You take their bishop. And look at that. They cannot take back because they're pinned by the bishop you put on c4. Guys, this another brilliant move in the Von Hennig Gambit. I'm telling you guys, the Von Hennig Gambit is the greatest gambit against the Caro-Kann. I will fight Witty Alien on this. The Von Hennig Gambit is stronger than the Alien Gambit because in the Alien Gambit you need to be attacking the entire time. But in the Von Hennig Gambit, you can go into an endgame and you can still be completely fine. With the Alien Gambit, you'll be down you're down an entire knight. But with the Von Hennig Gambit, it's just a pawn. And look at that, we already won our pawn back. We won the pawn back on F7. So this is, again, a completely winning position. Now, you have an active rook. Their king can't castle. Pinned, everything is pinned. Everything is cooked. You may be able to come here, even give this check. You'll be completely winning. Now, one thing that you can do that's even stronger, when you go knight g5, if they don't attack your knight, you're threatening this anyways. But you're also just threatening to take this immediately. So let's say they go bishop e7. Another one. You know why? You have a very, very strong rook f5. Rook f5, brilliant. Because you don't just win a pawn and the king can't castle. You win an entire piece. Fork. There is a fork. The best move is a queen to d7, and you take the rook. You now take the rook. You are up a piece. You are up a piece in this position. You are up a piece because you sacked your rook. And then you sacked your rook for the bishop, and then you won the rook back because this bishop is here. So that means that wherever black goes, let's say black goes here, they're not going to do this, but let's say they go back. you can just bring the knight back. You can bring the knight back. They go here. You can just bring the knight back. You're completely safe. You're completely safe. You win a piece. You're up a piece in this opening. Very, very strong position. This is why the Von Hennig Gambit is so strong. So there are, again, so many traps. So let's say in this position, when you go to knight g5, let's say they understand, something's going on here. So they go here. One thing that you can now do in this position is you can sacrifice, I believe it's your bishop. You can sacrifice your bishop on e6. Now, see, notice how the engine doesn't even hate that move. It's because it's an incredible move. You can take, or the opponent will most likely take, and then when you take back, now look, you're attacking the queen, you're attacking the bishop, you're having pressure on this pawn, and the rook can come to the e file at any point in time. Now, I know the engine says 1.2 evaluation, but it's only in perfect play. But your opponent will not be using an engine, hopefully, in their games. So one thing that could happen is they could go here, try to attack the knight. You could play either rook here or queen here. And then if they were to try to block, you can take the pawn with check. And then after that, you'll be swimming. You'll be doing swimmingly. But again, I've never had to play this opening. Like, I've never had to play this line in this opening because they never know what to do. So as long as you are under 1400, 1300, 1200, if you see the Caro-Kann and you play the Von Hennig Gambit, you will win all your games. Every single game. It's just so strong. As long as you see this sacrifice, if you don't want to do the sacrifice, you don't have to. You can just play queen e2. You can play knight to e2 and then c3 to make sure that this pawn is protected by a pawn. And then at some point, maybe you could go bishop d3. And then if they take, you take with a queen, active queen. You are in a completely winning position. There are just so many different tactics and traps in the Von Hennig Gambit that I really want you guys to all learn. This is how I was able to grow my elo. I started playing chess like around 8 or something years ago, and I only recently started pushing rating last year with my college friend Nathan, and I pushed 1100 elo in 7 months of playing chess. 1100. I went from 700 to 1800 in 7 months. Crazy. So one of the openings that I used was the Von Hennig Gambit. You guys should definitely learn how to play this gambit. Watch this video however many times you need to understand this gambit, and you'll beat all your opponents in the Caro-Kann. This is stronger than the Alien Gambit.